Okay, so you've been using the printer for a while. It's time to go ahead and refill these cartridges. Let me show you what it's going to look like. So this cartridge is a little bit low of ink. You can see right here we've got the reservoir and then you've got a sponge. That's the way these cartridges work. The reservoir feeds the sponge feeds the printer. So you don't want to let this reservoir go too low. The sponge will run out of ink, the printer dries out, the sponge will dry out, and it'll cause all kinds of problems. This is kind of that's one of the issues with the ix6820 is that it does have a sponge in the cartridge. If that sponge dries out, then you're going to have trouble with printing your film. So to alleviate that, you want to catch this in time. You want to make sure that this reservoir stays full of ink. So I'm going to show you how to fill this up right now. One thing you got to be cautious of is this dye black ink will stain anything it comes in contact with, your hands, your table, your floor. You want to be careful not to drip it, knock over the bottle or whatever. Because it will make a mess. So I typically have a paper towel, a roll of paper towels, rubber gloves, vinyl gloves, whatever, and just on hand just in case you just start to drip something. So with that said, there's two ways basically to refill these cartridges. So when you purchase the cartridges, they come with this little plastic piece that fits onto the bottom of the cartridge. What you can do is go ahead and fit the little plastic piece, snap it in place on the bottom of the cartridge, and then you're going to go ahead and remove the fill plug, which is the colored plug. Now it won't drip. It's not going to drip. Now you can go ahead, pull ink into the syringe, and go ahead and squirt a little bit of ink into the cartridge. That's one way to do it. When you're done topping off the ink, go ahead and replace the fill plug. Now this cartridge is ready to be reinserted back into the printer. What you got to be careful of is as soon as you pull this little orange piece off, it is going to drip just a little bit. So you want to do it over the refill jar or do it over a paper towel. And you got to be cautious with this orange piece that you don't damage this little clip right here, because if you jerk it around too much, you can actually break this little tab off. So you want to release the orange piece and gently pull the cartridge back through it. It's going to drip a couple times. Maybe wipe it on a paper towel. Now this cartridge is ready to go back in the machine. It's full. It's ready to go back in the machine. One thing to note, the chips on these cartridges are auto reset chips, so you're not going to need a chip resetter per se. It's going to calculate the amount of ink it's used over time. When it gets to 15%, it's going to automatically reset the cartridge back to full. So the ink level status on their monitor on your computer may not actually be very accurate to what's in this thing. So you want to physically remove these cartridges every once in a while and visually check to make sure that they actually have ink in them, because you can't count on the little ink monitor on your computer because it's not going to be very accurate. So this cartridge is ready to go back in the machine. I'll demonstrate another way you can fill this thing without utilizing, if you lose these clips or if you break these clips or you don't have the clips, another way you can refill these cartridges is remove it from the machine. And as soon as you pull this fill plug, it's going to start to drip. So you want to pull it over the jar, and you'll see it start to drip here in a second. There it goes. And then you want to pull a little bit of ink into your syringe. Go ahead and squirt the ink into the reservoir. It's going to continue to drip until you replace the fill plug. It might drip a couple more times. You can tab it on a paper towel. Now this cartridge is ready to be inserted back in the machine. It's ready to go. The advantage to doing it this way is you don't have to worry about breaking this little tab off the front of this cartridge. If you break this tab, the cartridge is no longer going to stay in the printer. So when I refill these cartridges for the ix6820, typically this is the way I do it. Is I don't mess around with this too much. I just do it this. The disadvantage is it takes a little bit of practice before I mean, as soon as you pull this, it's going to start dripping. You've got, you know, syringe, needle, you're trying not to make a mess. So this way, doing it this way could be a little bit more messy. However, it is a little, in my opinion, it's a little easier than going this direction with the clip. So either way, there's two ways to do it. You can do it one way or the other. You'll find a system that works for you. But that's how you go ahead and refill these cartridges. If you're going to store them, I recommend that you store them with the rubber clip. And then if you do have the vent plug, it is a good idea to go ahead and replace the vent plug, because the sponge will dry out over time. That's if you need to remove these from the printer for whatever reason. The jar, you've got the ink jar. You can go ahead and leave the excess ink in the jar. The jar does come with a hole in the top of the jar with a little plug. We do this on purpose so that if you want to refill the cartridge without having to take the lid off the jar, you can simply put the needle and the syringe into the jar, pull the ink into the syringe, and then go ahead and fill the cartridge. If you're doing it with the plastic piece on the bottom, this is the way to do it. And the main reason for this is if you knock over this jar, it's only going to spill as much as will come out of this little hole. If this thing was open and you knock it over, it's going to make a huge mess. So that's the reason we came up with this system. It's got a little, it does have a little hole in the top that allows the needle to fit through, and you can draw in as much ink to the syringe as you need without making a bigger mess. So that's the system. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. Comments below. Thanks for watching the video. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to check out our website, filmdirectonline.com. I'm Brian, I'm the owner. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. All right. Thanks for your time.